I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill, and this, I know I'm always saying, oh, these are like my favorites and all that, but Viv Leacock is like one of the most amazing people on the planet. I've known him for a while. I've had the opportunity to meet him in person. And getting to have him come on my podcast was definitely a dream come true. There is no doubt about that. Unfortunately, there were some audio issues, so I'm just warning you right up front. So please bear with me as I tried to fix those as much as I could. Sometimes these things happen. But don't let that keep you from enjoying the amazing content, discussion, advice, stories that Viv brought to today's podcast. I am so thrilled to bring this to you. And even though When Calls the Heart is ended for its current season, have a listen. I do believe you are going to find yourself inspired, entertained, and more. Enjoy. I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill, and I'm your host. And today we have one of my very, very dear special friends here today, Viv Leacock. I've known Viv for a few years now. Huge fan of his, but more importantly, he is an awesome human being. So thank you, Viv, for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. Oh my goodness. I'd blush if I could. You can't tell them. I'm sorry.
Viv is pretty amazing. We actually go back a few years. I know a lot of people know Viv from When Calls the Heart, of course, but I'm just going to read just a little bit so that if you're not familiar with him, let me just introduce some of my listeners and viewers to Viv here. Born in Montreal, based in Vancouver, Viv Leacock has been part of the acting scene for 20 years. I'd say probably more than 20 years now. Definitely. Yeah. His big break came in 2002 in the Eddie Murphy action comedy I Spy, where he was personally chosen by his comedic idol to play his right-hand man. Following this role, Viv continued his comedy work on a number of film and TV shows, including Intern Academy and several others that I'll talk about. We might bring those up. We'll see if they pop up. Viv would earn a Leo nomination for Best Supporting Actor in a Dramatic Role in the environmental thriller The Thaw, starring Val Kilmer. One of his notable characters in BBC's America's Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, Viv played Grips, one of the members of the ballistic band of misfits called the Rowdy Three. Yeah. Yes. Viv also had the privilege and pleasure of working with the Green Book's Peter Farrelly for 3 seasons on a hilarious series called Loudermilk. One of those series I still have to watch. I've seen a couple episodes. Following the lives of an AA group led by Ron Livingston. In Netflix juggernaut Lost in Space, starring Toby Stephens, Molly Parker, Parker Posey, Viv portrays Reese, one of the colonists trying to find a new planet to call home. As a longtime member of the Hallmark film and TV family, Viv played, I guess now, Detective Fincher Garland on Halie Dean Mysteries alongside the amazing Kellie Martin. Switching up the time period, you can find Viv and 2 of his children, Vienna and Elias. Is it Elias? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm saying his name right. And in When Calls the Heart. And that is how a lot of us know you. Of course, a lot of the people who are here are just talking about, we love the Canfields. We love the Canfields. And so, Viv, let me ask you then. Now, of course, people know you now in the Hallmark universe as Joseph Canfield, this amazing character who brought such welcome diversity and incredible storyline to When Calls the Heart last season and then continuing this season. It's been such a joy to see you there. But what was it like for you coming onto a series that was so well established? And now here you are in your second season with this show that is just like the top Hallmark show.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that amazing intro. And um, yeah, coming on to When Calls was I was familiar with a lot of the cast of When Calls because while doing Halie Dean Mysteries, if there were parties and get-togethers with the Hallmark family, I would see everybody, and a lot of the actors that reside in Vancouver, I'd run into them from time to time. We go way back, so we all knew of each other and we all supported each other. So getting on When Calls, it felt really natural. Um, just as far as like the relationships I already had with a lot of the cast. But as you say, I was aware of how much of a juggernaut When Calls is because, while doing any ads, any advertising for Halie Dean Mysteries, things had to kind of coincide with what was happening with When Calls. When Calls sets the tone for everything. So it's like, whenever you're gonna line up after When Calls, or you're going to line up when it makes sense. It all comes from When Calls. And the Hardys um, are the biggest fan base on the Hallmark Channel or in the Hallmark universe. The Hardys, the Hardys run things. You guys are being listened to, which is very cool. And so, having already been familiar with how things were, it was it was easy for me to walk and play Joseph. What was a little more difficult was difficult, but also so amazing was to have my children come with me to play. So two of my three kids play my actual kids on the show, and this was the first time they were on screen ever. Um, my daughter Vienna, she had done years of voice work for cartoons, so animation, but Elias Elias hadn't done anything. And so all of a sudden my role as actor on set was also actor on set slash father on set and slash acting coach slash try not to have a heart attack. It was just whew, yeah, it was a lot to take on. And like you said, established show, it's up and running, everybody knows what they're doing, and we're coming in, as the newbies. And yeah, it was pretty daunting. Fortunately, my really good friend now, Natasha Burnett, who plays Minnie, who did a lot to help just make sure that the kids and I were always ready. She would come over and we would go over the scenes before we ever went to set. We would just make sure that we looked like a family unit, we acted like a family unit, and yeah, I say all the time, like my family has adopted Natasha, so she's part of the family now.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah. Well, and you two have, well, actually, I'll just say all four of you have incredible chemistry. I mean, just as a
Mm.
family unit, you would never question. Now, I realize, three of you are actually related, but
Yeah.
still, Natasha coming in, you would just, you just don't even think about it. It's like you just seem like this established family. And in so many ways, even this season, I feel like the Canfields have always been there. I mean, I just have that feeling.
That was the aim. It was really, you know, considering, I'm a fan of television and film first. That's, beyond being an actor. The reason I even got into this business is because I love film and television so much. So I completely understand the feeling that any fan has about a show that they love, because I'm in the same boat. And so, like I said, Natasha and I would get together and we talk about how important it was, that little tiny details about how they should be as a married couple for at least 15, 16 years. Like, at least there's little things that you're going to do that are just going to make that seem very natural. Now, I've been with my wife for almost 30 years, and thankfully, my wife Davina and Natasha get along famously. Thank God. Oh my God. Thank God.
That's good. That's good.
but and I brought a lot of my marriage experience to the situation, and we really aimed to make it look very natural. That was the aim, just so that our transition in just was as smooth as possible. That was the thing. I didn't want to disrupt any fan base or anybody or anything. Just kind of come in nice and smooth, and then we go from there. And we've been very well received. So thankful for that. And lots of messages of encouragement and support. And they all mean so much. They mean so much. Just so we're just happy that it's all working.
Yeah,
Very happy.
yeah. Well, I was saying before you came on, I was telling my audience here that you are an incredible gentleman. In fact, I always think of you, because I'm going to tell this story, because I tell this story quite regularly, of when you and I met in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And I really got to see firsthand what a gentleman you are. Because I remember when we went to dinner, I remember that you walked along the side closest to the street.
Exactly.
And I would be on the inside, so you were like there to make sure, no cars were going to come my way. Exactly. And that is something I've never forgotten. You don't know how much that particular story, that particular gesture of yours told me so much about you. I was quite charmed. I was like, man, I'd never had a guy do that before. Never.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's not right.
And then you told me, well, you did that with Kellie Martin, because of course you and Kellie Martin were very close, and you're just
and still are. That's my girl. Yeah.
Exactly. But that told me so much about you, just the way that, and so I was also telling them, I don't think there's anybody that you don't get along with. I mean, I just can't see you as somebody that doesn't get along with people. You do your best always to get along with everybody.
Yeah, it's thank you for that. It's a funny story. At my wedding, a friend of mine went up to give a speech, and he kind of said what you're saying now, but he wrapped it up in a very funny analogy. He said, if I come up the street and I saw Viv beating up a bunch of people, he said, I just jump in. I wouldn't ask any questions, because because if he's doing that, then these are some aliens or something, and he's trying to protect everybody. And we all couldn't stop laughing. So that's a very nice compliment. I during filming of Halie Dean, often I would, there was a lot of walk and talks with Kellie and I would always insist on walking on the outside. But just the way the scenes worked, sometimes we couldn't do it. So she'd be on the outside, and I'd be like, everything in my soul is on fire, because I'm like, no, I walk on the outside. I have to absorb the impact of a 3,000-pound vehicle, not her. So yeah. And I tell my boys to do the same thing. And my two sons, I'm like, walk on the outside. Not to say it's everybody can do everything, but it's a gesture.
It is. Yeah. Well, and that's great. So you've got your sons doing it. My goodness. It's just, that's great. I know you and I have talked over the years about, of course, you have 3 kids. I have 1. My daughter's in college, if you can believe it. She's in the first year of college. It's like, wow.
Man.
But I remember over the years, we've had lots of parenting discussions. We discussed our kids. And so, but it looks to me as though you are certainly raising 3 pretty great kids from you and your wife. And I know your wife is incredible. I was saying I've never met your wife, but I know she's incredible.
Yes, my wife, while I'm, I might be raising 3 incredible kids, she's raising 4 incredible kids, because of having to deal with me. So no, she's this couldn't happen without my wife, without Davina. None of it happened, of course, because kids wouldn't be here. None of it happens without her. Yeah. She's the center of for all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And So I know that I know you and I have talked about the story, but just to do some context here, working with Eddie Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
what that movie I Spy got you, that was like established you. I mean, that was like your big break, shall I say.
Yep.
And you were the cool dude in Vancouver before it was so diverse.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be Vancouver was not diverse, and now of course I know it's much more diverse, which we are very grateful for. But you were there before that was the thing,
Yep.
and you had this opportunity to be in this movie with Eddie Murphy. So what was that? What are your memories? Like, what are your top memories from that experience?
Um, First of all, the whole situation with Eddie was that he had to approve my audition. So in landing the part, I knew that he signed off on it. That and the whole situation, it probably wouldn't have happened if he hadn't said. He put out some. There were certain things that he wanted to see happen. So first of all, he said he wanted to see. He was open to seeing a new face in these positions, and so that that alone put me in a position where it was going to be a fair contest between me and anybody else that was going to go out for it. Then, secondly, the director of the movie, my friend Betty Thomas, she was also the producer. And in that, you have those two people combined into one. So you're not dealing with a difference of opinion because sometimes the producer likes this actor, but the director doesn't like this actor. So now, because of that, again, it was another thing kind of in my favor. Not that I knew when I auditioned. And then three, the local casting director in Vancouver, was a big fan of mine, and Sue Browse and Lynn Carroll, but Sue Browse in particular she saw something in me that she saw my comedic ability and really was backing it. She was really backing me, and told Betty Thomas that she told Betty Thomas that there are really funny people in Vancouver. Um, Betty didn't think so, and this is a true story, and this is like my little claim to fame. Before I walked into audition, because Sue brought me in last, Betty, the director, pulled her aside and said, so there had been like 10 guys that went in for the part, and she said, "You told me that there were funny people in Vancouver." She's like, "If the next guy is not funny, you're fired." So I didn't know this.
Yeah.
But I could kind of like looking back, the look on her face when she came to get me in the waiting room, I was like, wow, she looks like she saw a ghost. So I was like, shouldn't I be shouldn't I be nervous? You're the casting person. Shouldn't I be nervous? So I went in, and this was another thing that was a little kind of benefit to the situation. I didn't realize that the director was in the room because on my notes on my audition, my agent had said it was just going to be with the casting director, who I was friends with. So I was like, I was relaxed. I was completely relaxed and not stressing anything. And the part was you had to be the assistant for Eddie Murphy's character. And he's the middleweight boxing champion of the world in the movie. And a lot of the guys that went in, they mistook assistant as professional assistant. So they went in suits. But I knew that boxers, when they're in the ring, anytime you see after a fight, all the guys hanging out with the boxer, those are his assistants. It's all the guys he grew up with. Now he pays them $300,000 a year to be there because he can, but that's who they are. So I went in looking like, myself basically. And I wasn't dressed up in a suit. I was casual. And so immediately when I walked in, it set me apart. And I did my thing, and I did all my ad libs and all my trying to be Eddie Murphy basically. and she loved it, and the casting director didn't get fired, and I got hired, and ended up going to Budapest and meeting Eddie Murphy, and the first thing he said to me was, "You're really funny, man. You're really funny." And for me, a fellow, I pursued stand up comedy because of Eddie Murphy. My whole brand of whatever I do or however I do it is very much based on him. Not the profanity, but
Yeah.
but everything else, just as far as like timing and whatnot. And so for him to say that to me, and for a guy with relatively nothing on his resume that would allow him to slot into like a supporting lead character on a major motion picture, that has always been the thing that has allowed me to know that I did it. It didn't turn into the thing that I thought it would. It didn't turn into like I'm a household name, and and I'm famous, but it has always given me this sense of confidence that I could hang with Eddie Murphy because he thought so, and he told me I'm funny, and we had a great time ad-libbing with each other and basically sparring. And the thing I'm most proud of is I made him laugh. I cracked him up on when we were doing a take. I made him break character and laugh out loud, and I will hold on to that for forever because he's Eddie Murphy. He's the one that makes people laugh. I mean, you don't make him laugh, but I got him, and yeah, that's always my thing. No matter what happens, Eddie Murphy says I'm funny, so I try to use that in arguments. I try to use that in arguments with my wife. I'm like, Eddie Murphy said I'm funny. Doesn't work.
I was gonna say that probably doesn't work. I have this feeling your wife is probably like she's heard that before. That's not gonna impress her.
Not impressed. She's like, well, go marry Eddie Murphy then.
Yeah. Well, you also have a brother who is an actor.
Yes, my brother Richard, and he's my older brother, and I lucked out. I grew up with an older brother and a younger sister, my sister Liba, and my brother Richard, who's also an actor. He's one of the best guys I've ever known. I'm lucky in that there's some brothers that can be like, oh my older brother was a bully or mean, or I can't say that at all. He wanted a little brother, he got a little brother, and he took me everywhere. we were in New York at the time. Born in Montreal, but I was only there for like 3 months. But we came up in New York when we were both small, and we went everywhere. He is responsible for my love of movies, my love of stand-up comedy, my love of so many things, because that's what he was interested in, and he was, he's so much older, so he just took me everywhere. And my frame of reference is literally 10 years further ahead than I actually, than my actual age, because of my brother. And he's the one that encouraged everything. I think you should be an actor. I think you should do this. And I was just trying to be a stand-up comedian. He was like, I think you should act. I think it'll be really good. And I was like, no, I want to be a stand-up comedian. And acting just kept coming back to find me. It was kind of like, I don't know, the universe was listening, or they're listening to my brother or something. It kept coming around. And I tell him so often, I'm like, this is your part I'm doing right now. Because he's in Los Angeles and I'm here. And I'm like, this is your part. Because in actual facts, if I've ever auditioned against my brother, I don't get the part. He gets the part, not me. It happened one time where they called we had the same agent, and they called and said, oh, Viv, you got the part. And I was like, really? Okay. A little strut. And then 2 minutes later, they said, oh, we got that wrong. They got it wrong. It's actually Rich that got the part. Not you. I was like, that's what I thought.
I understand.
He's the best. He is the best. And I love that guy. And I'm trying to see if I can work him on the show, playing my brother, and then get my other son playing his son. Then I have the whole family.
There you go. That would be awesome. Oh, I would love to see, because I know you guys have been trying to do projects together for years. I know it's been in the works, and it's like you two want to work together.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun because him and I together, man, woo, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I can imagine. Well, it's interesting, Viv, because I've actually learned things about you. You've told so I'm glad that I brought that up. I've been finding with doing these podcasts, it's a little different style. So I tend to learn some new things about so yeah, that's been great. Well, what I want to do is I do want to make sure that except there's a lot of people here that I know would like to ask you questions. By the way, there's already been somebody wishing you a belated happy birthday because you had a birthday recently.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy belated birthday. And I'm sure we all echo that sentiment. And so hey.
Thank you.
And you haven't aged.
Well, I feel like it, but you know the saying, maybe black don't crack. So I'm still hanging on. We'll see what happens.
That's great.
I say it all the time.
Well, let me open it up to questions. I mean, there are other questions I could ask you, but I just have this feeling that there are probably people who would like to ask questions. My mom is here. Yes, you've not met my mom, so
we've talked about your mom a lot, but I haven't met her yet.
Yeah. So
Mom?
All right.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you.
Hi, so nice to meet you.
You as well.
I don't have a question, just a couple of comments. Is from when Ruth came back from Vancouver after meeting you, I mean, she just went on and on and on about this person that she met in Vancouver. And it's like, okay, this sounds good. And then she introduced me with the Halie Dean Mysteries, which are, to me, some of the best. I love mysteries. I'll go anywhere to watch a mystery almost. But, yeah, I just love them. And I watch those over and over and over. I mean, I know them so well. But when I started watching those, and she says, "That's him. This is Viv." Wow. I mean, your character just you come across so beautifully. And then in When Calls the Heart, you just added so much. Your family has added so much to the story. Your kids are unbelievable. When Ruth told me that they were your kids, your actual kids, it's like, oh, come on. No, they're just beautiful, beautiful. And I just want to thank you for all the hours of entertainment that you have given me. And just in watching because I love Halie Dean and When Calls the Heart. So just thank you. And it's just a joy to meet you, to finally meet you. Now I can put it all together.
Such a joy to meet you as well. And honestly, that's why I do this. It's everything for anybody who's watching. If this helps anybody, get through a hard day, a hard week, whatever it is, if you can just disconnect for a second and watch something that, myself and other people that I think are amazing have put up, and it helps to kind of take you out. That's a gift. That's a gift. And I know how, blessed we are to be in this position to do so. But I think I feel like we're in service to the fan base. We're in service to anybody who's watching, television or going to the theater or going to a movie. I think that's what it has to be. So, the thoughts about being famous or whatever that comes with it, that can sometimes, take away from what this is all about, which is just connecting with folks. I don't need that stuff. This is what I do this for. So you just made my day. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Man. Gonna get all misty here, Ruth. Come on now.
Oh, well, we've got the best people here, no doubt. So this is Kellie.
Hi, Kellie.
Sorry. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I have a comment and 2 questions.
Okay.
The first comment is your daughter does an extremely well of playing a blind girl.
Thank you. She'd be very happy to hear that because she stresses out over that all the time. She wants to make sure she's doing that right.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't be able to know that. You know, she does a very good job. Makes it really believable.
Mm-hmm.
And my other question is, well, my first question is, what is your favorite memory so far working with 2 of your children on When Calls the Heart?
Well, I would say the first day that we were on set, so that was 2020. The first day we were on set, and I'm watching my kids who've not done this ever step in front of the cameras, you know, especially Vienna, who is she's playing she has to pretend to be blind. Probably the scene that really got me the most, there's no acting at all in this scene, is there's a scene in season 8 where she finds her piano when we've just moved into the cabin, and she finds her piano, and Minnie's going to stop her from climbing up on all the stuff to get to her piano, and I'm like, no, let her do her thing, and then she starts to play the song, and man, ooh, yeah, I had to stop myself from crying because I was like, 1920, men, you know, men held it together a little bit more back then, so I was like, don't you pulling hairs, or don't you cry, and and that was, I'm not acting. I'm looking at my daughter. Joseph's looking at his daughter, and we are one and the same in that moment. And same with Elias's little scene where he's coming up in the buggy, the wagon with Aaron and Aaron from school. And it's when Elizabeth hears the piano, and she's like, "What's that?" And he says, "Oh, that's just Angela." Like, I watched him do that, and then he comes into the scene and sits beside me, and I'm just, oh my God, I was just so in love with everybody involved with When Calls at that moment because they allowed this to happen for me. I am able as an actor to watch my children play my children. It's a little mind blowing because there's not too many actors that can actually say that they've had this opportunity. So that first day that's my, by far, it outweighs everything. It outweighs Eddie Murphy. It outweighs any award, anything, because my kids could have just been into other things that they're into, and that could have been the end of it. But here they are, you know, making an impact on the TV show and helping me as well. Like, you know, I obviously would have brought my acting to the situation if those were 2 other children, but you know, those are my
nothing compares, right?
Nothing compares. Nothing. No. So that was literally like a magical moment that day.
And my next and final question is, how is your parenting style different from Joseph to?
It's pretty similar, actually. Lots of family meetings if we need to. For instance, my wife and I just had a family meeting about social media, about the kids getting sucked into the wormhole that is social media and scrolling through whatever pops up. And they all had a 2-week hiatus from any social media. Didn't need to do it. If you saw them posting anything, that was me or my wife. It was, I know the pitfalls of it, the dangers of it. It's an amazing tool if you use it as such, but it can also, like, oh man, I've been on this thing for 3 hours. Like, it can just suck you in. And as an adult, we grew up without these things, so we can measure. We know I can, like, put this stuff down. I don't care about it. But kids there's nothing to compare it to. They just get sucked in and they can stay there. And so I'm hyper vigilant about social media, about getting sucked into a device. It's dangerous territory. So I've not seen Joseph have to deal with that.
I don't think he ever will.
That's not around, but and there's nothing really, he doesn't have to deal with that. He has to, his kids can run outside and go play and whatnot. It's a different time. But I'd say we're pretty close. Elias will tell you, because Cooper's getting into trouble this season, and the looks on Joseph's face, well, that's the looks on Viv's face too. If Elias ever gets in trouble, so he'll tell you. He started laughing when we were doing one of the takes where I was telling him to go do his chores, because he's like, "That's the face you make when you tell me to go clean my room." I'm like, I said, "Now you know what acting's really about, son. It's about inspiration from real life. That's what." So, no, I'm not too far off of Joseph. Not at all. We everything that Joseph brings into helping, get the family from one position to another is, I'd say, every tool I use as well. So, yeah, we have our faith. We have my wife and I have, like I say, a 30+ year friendship, then more than that relationship, husband and wife. And we try to show our kids that respect is paramount. My wife and I do not argue in front of the kids. We do not, there's no slamming doors. There's no nothing. There's none of that. We don't, we're trying to give them the best, cleanest slate opportunity to move forward and not take anything that they've learned that's negative with them into their relationship. So that's our aim. Our aim is to try to put out these amazing humans that go on to have what we know we have. Again, like, I know I'm blessed to have my career, or to have have made some sort of an impact. I was always happy with what I have at home. That's always number one. So, yeah, I've probably veered off a bit, but
Thank you. That was very good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, that was actually awesome. I kind of knew some of that, but that's great. You did very well, Viv.
Okay.
Answering that, but you did. All right, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
Hi there. And I want to apologize to you and Ruth, because I think you're probably looking at my ceiling. I was in the kitchen cooking dinner for my family.
Okay.
And I'm not dressed, but I didn't want to miss this.
Oh, okay. Well, would it be better for me to take you off the spotlight and you just ask the question off camera? We can do that.
If you're good just looking at the ceiling, then I'm good with this. But I do apologize to you both.
It's a lovely feeling.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you very much for that. We just moved in back in December, so we're kind of enjoying it.
Oh, whereabouts are you guys?
Yes, sir. I'm in Virginia.
Oh, nice. I love Virginia.
Yeah. I'm in Virginia, and so I have lots. Are you in Canada now, or where are you at?
Yeah, we're in Canada right now, but we spend a lot of time in the U.S. and mostly New York. But yeah, I'm here now.
Lovely. Yeah, we have one of my husband's best friends is from Canada. And then our old neighbors are from Canada. So we've not been there yet, but hopefully that's on the bucket list to travel. My husband's been there, but I've never been there.
Well, come on and see us on set. That's what you should do.
Oh my goodness, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tell you that I just absolutely adore you and your children. I actually didn't even realize that they were your children in real life till just now on this call. So that was very interesting, because they're beautiful.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome. And I actually, the part when you were talking about the piano, you're absolutely right. I remember that episode very well. And it was very touching. And the whole thing with your your character, which now I can embrace it even more, knowing that you're really their dad, because I've always felt like when I looked at you with the kids, I'm like, gosh, what a great dad, because, you know, moms tend to get a little nervous and dad tends to be a little more, it's okay, let them do this, you know. And so you definitely show that in your character on the show and everything. And it's just actually one of my favorite, well, the whole show is my favorite, but one of my favorite parts when I watch the show.
Oh,
but
thank you for that.
You're so welcome. But my question that I have for you is being that COVID has been the way it is the last few years, I've noticed, and I don't know what you feel like in this situation and what you feel when you're doing like When Calls the Heart and anything else that you've done in the last 2 years. But I feel like personally that something about the Hallmark movies and even When Calls the Heart, I feel like, you know how when the other movies that have been coming out, everyone references it as pre-COVID, because it seems like that a lot of the movies that they made that they've made during COVID, that there's just something about them that are not the same in the movie industry. They just are kind of a little blah. They just don't have the same effects, the same feel. They just seem like they're not written as well. But I've noticed that, like with When Called the Heart and with the Hallmark movies, I feel like y'all haven't missed a beat with the writings and with the way they show out on TV. Like they seem just as exciting, just as interesting, and the plots are even more thrilling as if it was before COVID. So do you see the difference in how certain movies are being based versus like the shows that you do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think what you're seeing, you know, it's kind of what we're all seeing is that there are, and Ruth and I have talked about this in the past. There are, you know, networks and there are shows and movies that you can watch, especially on Hallmark Channel, that are always fit for the whole family. It's kind of the definition of kind of, I'm not gonna say escapism, but it's kind of the definition of something, you know, you will turn on a show or turn on a movie that everybody can come in and watch. You know it. You're not going to be bombarded with anything that has to do with, you know, the challenges that everybody's facing right now. This is what this medium is supposed to be able to do. It's supposed to be able to help transport you to another time and another place. And I think something like When Calls, specifically, given, you know, the time period, you're not thinking about COVID. You're not thinking about how hard it is to get through the days, you know, where you know that people have been affected health-wise, they've been affected, you know, financially, they've been affected by so many things. That's not something that you're reminded of in any way, shape, or form because of the channel you're watching, and specifically with When Calls, the time period you're watching. It's the epitome of that. It pulls you out. And not to say it made it easier for anybody involved in the writing process to, you know, to put out the material, or made it easier for the actors to do any of the things that we've done in this period of time. But I think it was just this, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, you know, throughout this whole time, because of what it is. You know, content is something that all the producers and all the powers that be will tell you has helped people get through this time. But what kind of content has helped people get through this time? You know, not everything has a message. Not every movie you watch has, you know, a life lesson that you can walk away with. You know, an action movie may not have, you know, something that you can pull into your own wheelhouse and walk around with and carry. But I would wager that When Calls probably does every other episode, or every episode for some folks. So I think it's really specifically the fact that if you measure anything against, Hallmark, I don't know if anything's going to come up as far as where we are doing these pictures and doing these TV shows. So
Yeah.
I'm with
Well,
you.
I have to say that, a lot I think has to do with you guys as the actors and actresses, and that y'all put your heart into it. And it really reflects on the audience and the fan base group, and in situations like with what Ruth is doing now, allowing us to be able to take this chance to personally speak with you guys. Because I don't know, when I think of other movie stars and actors and things like that, I just feel like that there's just something very special about the Hallmark cast when it comes to the people that they get with the movies and the actors and actresses on their station. Like, I just feel like it's just so wholesome and family oriented, but it's just that the people that every actor that I've come across with, especially with what Ruth has done, you all have the same genuine heart and the same appreciation for your fans and what you do, and the fact that you truly care. So it really shows in your show, and it's just so appreciative by everyone sitting at home watching you.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. Thank you. We're just an extension of all y'all. That's really who we are. Honestly.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you again. And I know other people have questions, and best wishes to you and your family. Many blessings to y'all.
Thank you, Tammy. God bless y'all, and have a great dinner. I know you're doing the thing there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Tammy. All right. Wow, that's just, it's amazing. All right, Vicky. And Vicky is actually from another country. Is that right, Vicky?
Hi, Vicky.
Yes.
Vicky,
I'm in Vienna in Europe.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually the middle of the night, but I really wanted to stay up and maybe get to ask a question. And I'm really grateful I got the opportunity.
So
nice to meet you, Viv.
You as well. You're in Vienna.
Yeah.
Well, that was the name that I chose for our, you know what? I'm going to tell you a funny story about Vienna. So my wife Davina, and I, friends since we were 13, 14 years old. We both thought, and we just found this out a few years ago. We both thought that we had come up with the name Vienna. That each individual thought that they came up with the name Vienna. Because I've had in my head, when I was 17, I thought, oh, Vienna, that'd be a really nice name for my daughter. And I had a feeling that the first child I was ever going to have was going to be a girl, and I knew her name would be Vienna. My wife, separate from me and anything I ever said, had exactly the same thought. That Vienna was going to be her firstborn, and she had that since she was around the same age that I decided. And we both thought, we told the other, because when I said Vienna, she was like, yeah. There was no discussion because we both thought we said it to the other. But we just found out, like 5 years ago, we just figured out that, not even like 3 years ago, we just found out that that wasn't the case. So there you go.
Wow. That's funny. Well, I have a short question for you. So on When Calls the Heart, we saw your kids, Angela and Cooper, evolve from season 8 to season 9. But how would you say that your kids evolved in their real life as your kids over the last year? Do you think that their evolution on When Calls the Heart on the show somehow reflects their evolution over the last year in their life, or vice versa?
That's an excellent question. A lot of what the directors and producers have said to me when in the early days of filming season 9 is they all were like, wow, your kids, they've really come out of their shell. Wow. Like, they all were really amazed at how much more talkative or how much more outgoing the kids were on set, as opposed to season 8 when they just walked in not ever having done this before. And they really did take a step forward as far as like being comfortable on set and just being able to kind of bring more of themselves to the situation. And so the powers that be felt a little more assured that the kids could do more and take on more challenging parts or challenging scenes. So it really has helped them evolve. Specifically, everything they got to do on When Calls. It was if you're ever going to become an actor, it's a really amazing situation if you get to do so alongside your dad playing his kid.
Yes, for sure.
It's like they know they lucked out and have a situation that doesn't happen to everybody, and they're making the most of it. Specifically, Vienna. She loves acting. It's all she ever wanted to do. It's all she ever wants to do. And so she's like taking acting classes and improv and doing plays. And she's really, really excited about everything that has to do with acting. Elias, he's a little younger and a little more. He does a lot more along the lines of athletics. So he's really into basketball right now. So not to say that acting isn't his focus, but he would rather go play basketball than do anything right now. But what we're so fortunate about is on set, all of the When Calls kids love each other and hang out together and FaceTime each other and text each other, and they have their chat groups and they hang out together, and they are all buddies. And Elias cannot wait to go see everybody on set. He's just like, goodbye, Dad. Like, he just wants to go hang out and everything. And that's been really cool to watch. Just, they didn't know anybody the first season, but man, last season when we filmed, they all got along so well. Like, they just want to hang out together, all the kids. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, and I also remember you guys were on the Hallmark podcast with Jackson Shaw last year. Mm-hmm. And I remember that especially your son was like really shy.
Yes, Elias was pretty shy.
Hardly finding words to answer the question. I was like, that's cool, but just listening to him, we're not very sure that he was very comfortable. And I think that also the way he acts now as Cooper, it really reflects how he feels a lot more comfortable.
Yes, totally.
And this is just amazing. So congrats to both of them.
Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll let them know.
Thanks, Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have another Kellie here.
Kellie.
Hi.
Hi, Kellie.
I've got a comment and a question. My comment is I just love watching you interact with your kids as the Canfields. And they're just adorable.
Oh, thank you.
And my question is how did it come about that they would play your kids on the show?
Okay. Thank you for that comment. And so after I got the part, I hadn't seen the list of characters associated with Joseph. I knew he had a wife and children, but I didn't know the particulars of how old the kids were. And so then I helped another actor with the audition for Minnie. And I saw on her information page that she had the description of the characters for the kids. And I was like, oh, 14 and 10, girl, boy. And I was like, oh, Vienna's always talking about getting into acting. So I was like, I gotta make a phone call. So I went and called my agent and I said, what do you think of Vienna auditioning to play Angela? And my agent was like, oh, that's a great idea. And I called my wife. What do you think of Vienna auditioning to play Angela? And my wife said, that's a great idea. Call Vienna. And I called Vienna. And she was, at the time, with one of her she was her best friend at her best friend's grandparents' cabin, hanging out because it was summertime. And so I called Vienna. I said, Vienna, what do you think about you playing my daughter on When Calls the Heart? You'll have to be blind, but it's an amazing part. What do you think? And she's like, I don't think that's a good idea. I was like, what? Hang on. You've been telling me you want to be in film and television so much. And she said, I know, but oh my gosh. She's like, Dad, it's such an established show. And she's like, I know there's a huge fan base. She's like, I've seen the show, and there's so many people that love the show. And she's like, I don't want to come in and upset anybody. And she says, plus, I'd be working with you. I'm like, that's a good thing. And she said, would you like to work with Granddad on your first day of work ever? I was like, well, actually, I see your point. and I actually said, okay, I respect that, because the last thing I wanted anybody to do was, I didn't want my kids to follow me into this business because I was insisting that they be in this business, and they don't want to be in this business. I never want to put them in that situation. So I let it go. I said, okay, that's fine. So, and my good friend Peter DeLuise, who directs lots of episodes, writes lots of episodes, and one of the producers, he found out that Vienna was going to audition, and then she wasn't going to audition. And he called me. He's like, what is this I hear about Vienna not auditioning? And he knows my kids. He's been over to the house before. And I said, she doesn't want to do it. I'm not going to force her to do it. And he said, well, she should try to do it. She says, just ask her to try. I'm like, I did. And she doesn't want to do it. And he's like, hang on a second. And he's like, I'll call you right back. So the next thing I see pop up on my phone is a video from Peter. And he sent a video of himself, recording himself, saying, Vienna, I will not let you fail. And he said, show that to Vienna. So I showed it to Vienna, and she said, okay, I'll do the audition. So she did the audition. She killed the audition. For everybody involved, there was no question. She's Angela. And then once she got approved by everybody at Hallmark, they called and said, do you have any sons? And I said, well, actually, I have 2 sons. And they're like, okay, we want them to audition for Cooper. And it just so happened that my youngest son, Elias, is the same age as Cooper. So my middle kid, my boy Lennox, he wasn't as cute as he needed to be to play Cooper. Elias just had a little extra thing on him because he's 2.5 years younger than him, and he has a heart birthmark. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but he's got a heart birthmark right by his eye. So I was like, when calls the heart? I guess it's meant to be. And he auditioned, and they kind of put him through his paces and made sure he could do it. And yeah, they hired both kids on to play my kids, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Actually, it's so cool.
Yeah, Angela, she does a great job at playing blind. Like,
oh, thank you.
Like, yeah, both your kids are just adorable, and I love watching all of you, even Minnie, be the whole family unit. It really looks like a whole family unit, and I enjoy watching you guys on the show.
I'm glad, and I'm glad that you enjoy watching it, and that we can provide some entertainment or anything that helps everybody get through the day. We're just happy that we can help in that respect.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kelly. Great questions.
Thanks, Kelly.
Great questions. Okay. We just have, I think, 3 more questions here. So thank you for your time, Viv.
Yeah.
Another Ruth here.
Another Ruth. Okay. Hi, Ruth.
Mute. Am I unmuted? No?
There you go. Yeah.
That's
Hello. I appreciate everything you do. I love your acting on When Calls the Heart. And but I do have a question. I remember in season 8, you were coming into the town and singing a hymn, and I don't remember which one. You were singing. Will you sing again on the program?
Yes. Oh, thank you for for everything you said. Yes. I think so. You know what you have to hear? You have to hear Natasha sing because man, Natasha Burnett can sing. So we'll probably end up doing some sort of duet or something. That's we're trying to get that put into the show. So the problem is every time we start doing it, I start laughing. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
And then I hope you push for your brother and your son to come on. Because I was just chatting with Ruth a couple weeks ago. I said, we need to have them come up with something like Halie came into Nathan's life, a nephew come into their life and be some. So yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
So but thank you. It's very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interview.
Well, thank you, Ruth. That's great. All right. Oh, this is this particular now. Paula is like my unofficial co-host. She asks like the absolute most amazing questions.
I hope I live up to that.
Yes, you do. You are very faithful. She is very faithful.
I'm going to back out of Hallmark a little bit. So I don't know very much of your beginning. When you were starting in school or high school, did you want acting? Has that always been a dream? Or how did your beginning start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian more than anything. That's my first love as far as entertainment goes. I just love making people laugh. And that was my aim. My brother Richard, that I spoke about earlier, he was already acting, and he actually, when I was about 8 years old, we were still in New York at the time. He's like, I think you should be an actor. He actually took me to my first audition. So I had my first audition when I was 8 years old, and it was actually for. It was for something that was like Little House on the Prairie. Actually, I'm just remembering that right now. And they liked what I did, but I didn't get the part. I don't know. They went another way or whatever. But that was my first kind of foray into acting, and it was all because of my brother. And again, I just was like, no. I want to do something else. I wanted to do a stand-up comedy. So I started to kind of put that together in high school. I was also singing in high school, and at one of my high school talent contests, one of the judges in the audience, he was an agent in town, and he approached me after the show, and he's like, "You have a lot of stage presence, a lot of charisma. I think you should be an actor." So here I am hearing this again. Someone is saying you should be an actor. And I kind of was like, the universe keeps trying to tell me something. It keeps trying to tap on my shoulder, telling me something that I should be an actor. And I had numerous people tell me at that point, you should be an actor. You should be an actor. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try. And so at 17, I started acting. The first audition I ever went into was for a local TV show, and it was for like 6 or 7 episodes. Arc on this show playing like a troubled teenager, and his name was Elvis. And I'm like, well, that's why he's troubled. There's a black kid walking around with the name Elvis. You're gonna get in trouble. So I landed the part. My first audition ever. I landed the part, and it kind of said to me, I was like, beginner's luck is really this thing that it's where the universe kind of, it opens the door for you because that's the door you're supposed to go through. So. I looked at that as, okay, I'm supposed to do this thing. People keep telling me I'm supposed to do this thing. So I started acting, and I did that for about a year, and then my love of stand-up comedy came back, and I started doing stand-up comedy. But again, executives, different people I meet, they were like, you should be an actor, you should be an actor. And so I got pulled back into the acting world, and since about 1998, I started acting again, and like Ruth said, when the Eddie Murphy movie came along in 2001, I think a lot of my stand-up experience and kind of being able to crack jokes, I think a lot of that helped with me landing a part opposite, one of the most famous stand-up comedians of all time. And so here I was, everything that I was trying to be kind of rolled into one. So that's how I.
Did you have a formal training or?
No, it's all been different workshops. Just it's more. It's for me. I started coaching people in about 2001. I started coaching kids how to act, and interestingly enough, doing that helped kind of solidify my own acting style, what I think about acting, or how it should be done, and all that stuff. So I haven't trained very much, but I am a big observer of life. I'm a big observer of people and their patterns of behavior. I love human behavior. That's a thing, but I can just people watch all the time and just see what people do. It's probably the whole stand-up comedian thing too, because a lot of stand-ups, that's something that they're drawn to. But it really helps when you're being an actor, because you understand how people do what they do, and that's my style, and this is the thing that I passed on to my kids. I tried to make it as easy as possible. Not that acting is easy, but I'm trying to make it as it's not complicated. It's not a complicated situation, because we all have the same instrument, and we all act sometimes. In that, if you're having a bad day and you run into someone that you don't like very much, and they're like, "How you doing?" "I'm doing great," because you don't want them to know you have a bad day. That person's always showing off a little too much. "How are you doing?" "I'm doing great." We all do it. We all do it sometimes in life. So I've just taken that thing that I know we all do, and I've applied it to, being with opposite another actor, seeing how things go. I like to play. I like to have fun with everything. So that's my favorite.
You said your wife you've known since you were young, as a teenager. Did she think you were crazy for going into or was she very supportive and did that type of work herself?
No, my wife is not an actor at all. When she gets mad, I'm like, "Oh, that's a good scene." But no, my wife is not an actor at all. She's an amazing singer. She can play the piano. She can do a bunch of things, but she doesn't want to be in front of the camera. But no, I mean, if you knew me in high school, you either saw me literally performing stand-up, or singing, or dancing, or some sort of entertainment. This, beyond sports, I was always in all the talent shows. I was always doing something. And public speech for me is never been a problem. I get up in front of 10,000 people and tell a story. I have no problem with it. I've never been shy. So she knew what she was getting into. Yeah. She knew who this guy was long before we ever got together as boyfriend and girlfriend, because we were friends. I met my wife when I was 13. She's 6 months older, so she's 14 at the time. And we were really good friends all throughout high school. And after she graduated, and after I graduated from high school, we started dating. And so, like I said, she knew exactly what she was getting into.
Yeah. So you've done, they've talked mostly about the Hallmark, but you've done other movies before. Do you have limits? Do you set goals, things like, I will not do this? Or have you been asked movies that you turned down because it just wasn't going to fit your beliefs and feelings?
Yes. I spoke to Ruth about this one, actually. For the first 10 years of my career, I would not, and Hallmark is very helpful in this respect, because I don't curse in real life. I don't use profanity in real life. And I avoided it for 10 years into my career, I wouldn't say anything profane. I would swear. I wouldn't do it. No. And it was really a thing where, you know, people were like, "It's not a big deal. It's not you that's saying it, it's the character." And I was just like, I didn't want to portray someone that people could then use as like, oh, that's another reason why someone that looks like that guy is ABCD, whatever they want to believe. I was trying to help the situation and not add to the situation, and so I refused to do it. And it was fine. It was fine, but it got to a point when I got, I think, a little further into my career where I realized that by not doing it, there were some situations where I was not being fair to my scene partner, because the scene partner is supposed to react to someone saying something specific. And by me omitting it wasn't quite fair. And so I realized that either I just don't do the part, or I do the part. You can't, there's no in between. You have to be the character because this is the person that the character is, or you just turn it down. And so so then I did do parts that required profanity and whatnot, but I had come to understand that, like, yes, that's not me. Viv is here, the character's here. I'm providing, everything that my scene partner needs to react to this character, and that's all. That's where it ends. I don't have to be that person. And then I got to another point in my career where I'm just like, I'm just not gonna do it. I will just turn the part down. I'll let someone else do it. I just avoid it. If I don't feel comfortable doing something, I just will say no. And there's a lot of power to saying no. It's something that my dad told me. He said, no is a complete sentence. So he's like, you don't have to say anything else after you say no. It's a complete sentence. Someone says, hey, do you want to do this part? No, that's it. You don't have to go into any reasons why or anything. Just say no. And it's actually been a very powerful tool in negotiating. Do you like this offer? No.
Short and sweet. And then one quick question about the family. When you're not on set and you're doing family outings, is there something special that your family does away from movies, away from everybody else looking in on your world?
Yeah, so if we're not going to watch one of the kids in one of their sporting endeavors, then it's always family time around the table, food with guests, with someone. It was very much all about hanging out together. And I have this amazing text from my 14-year-old son, Lennox, who you guys haven't seen. And on the day of my birthday, he sent me a text on his way home from school, and he said, I can't wait to come home to hang out with you and everybody else on your birthday. And it was just like, man, he's 14 and he's saying that. Yeah. That's cool, because at 14, I was like, bye-bye. At 14, we were out doing whatever. And this kid and his friends want to go out, but he's like, no, I want to go home. I'm hanging out with my family. We have created a situation at home where the kids always want to hang out. They always want to bring their friends, and they love our friends, and we always get together and have a good time. And that's our favorite thing to do together. Just to be together. That's our favorite thing.
You've done a good job if that happens, because today's kids, it's like it is very hard. I have a 16-year-old grandson who texted me last night, saying, I love you, Grandma. I got home safe, and he's in Florida and I'm in New York, and he misses being here because every Sunday was family dinner. Mm-hmm. And we would pray together, and we would have a family gathering on Sunday. And
Yeah,
that's,
we have. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, we have this family dinner every time we sit down. Every night, it's family dinner. We. It's something we've been doing since they were small, and it's something that I remember. So, like, I look back in my childhood, and that is one of the greatest things that my family had. We always sat down and ate together, like you say, prayed together. You know, we cracked jokes together, and there's nothing like that. So, my kids are big fans of they're big fans of my kids all sound like me and my brother talking to each other because we're always referencing some movie line or some quote from some show. And when I'm listening to my kids talking to each other, it's all the inside jokes because of all the different shows and stuff that they've seen and that we've all seen together. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Happy man.
Ruth has had a couple young actors, young kids on the show, but you can't really ask them the questions. I have to be very careful of what I ask, but I'm concerned about the schooling. How is that handled so that they're not losing the discipline of just not taking for granted the money's going to come in because you're an actor.
Right.
You need a fallback. You need something.
Totally.
So how do you handle that? How does the film company do it, or do you do it?
Yeah, you have the option of, so there's an onset teacher. But you have the option of using any tutor that you know that you can. So basically, what we've been doing, especially during COVID, there's always school time. So the kids, their schedule it revolves around school. Like when the kids are on set, they're still going to school. They're not just hanging out, not going to school. It's school, take a break, go film, go back to school. That's really what they do all the time. So they're not really missing anything other than an in-class dynamic at their own school, but they're actually in school while they're on scene. Yeah.
I think it's very important that they have a structure, a formal education type of, because you hear just too many sad stories of kids gone wild because they were, had a stage mom or dad that pushed them and let them do anything they wanted to do because they were bringing in the money.
Yeah. That's not happening here.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. So. Thank you so much for that. Because, like I said, it's hard to ask. You can't ask little kids that when they come up. And I wondered if there was a structure form for it. So thank you so much for.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
All right, so one last question here. This is from Janelle, who actually has done some Hallmark work.
Hey, Janelle, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. So I actually have a career-related question.
Okay.
Like you mentioned before, I've actually had the opportunity to be a part of 3 Hallmark movies and to be featured on Countdown to Christmas last year.
All right.
So for me, I don't have an agent right now, and I'm trying to land my first speaking role. And it's like I want to do it without one, if that makes any sense.
Right, I hear what you're saying.
Because like you feel like you shouldn't have to. Well, personally for me, I don't want to have to pay anybody just yet and be tied down to it, like the contracts. But I still want those big roles. So is it possible to lock down a role with a big network like Hallmark without an agent?
It would make it a lot more difficult. Only in that you might not see the auditions that come out because you don't have access to seeing that. Everything gets easier through an agent. I hear what you're saying, but it all works. It all kind of works the way it always has. And to kind of try to do it from another angle, it just makes it a little more difficult to do. So have you had formal training of any kind?
Some training, but it wasn't a lot. I did improv. I did like the well, I don't want to tell the name of it just in case anybody know about it. But like I had to fly to LA.
I hear you.
For like a week. It was like a showcase.
Yeah.
Like they trained
you. You actually sound a lot like me when I started in that. Like I was saying, because I, did stand-up comedy was the thing I wanted to do. Anybody that said anything about acting or acting classes, I was like, nah, man, I'm not trying to do it. I was like, this is me. I was like, I don't need acting classes. I'm just gonna. I can't believe I said this. I'm just gonna walk in front of the camera, and they're all gonna know that I've arrived. They're just gonna see how brilliant I am without any classes. Well, let me tell you. Now, I don't want you to lose any of that fire you have. I love it. Don't lose it.
Thank you.
Right? But I'm telling you what you're going to realize when you do more classes, take more classes, you're going to realize it gives you the tools to recognize different scenarios that you might get into when you're on set or when you're on stage. Any experience you can get from a really good class is invaluable to add to that natural charisma and charm and talent that everybody can see you have. You know what I'm saying? Like you remind me of someone like myself who I've never been shy. And I would wager that you're like, let's go. You're the same type of person that's just gonna go do it. Natural ability is an amazing thing to have. But when you back it up with technical know-how or just stuff that another actor might know who went, like, for instance, Erin from the show, she went to Juilliard. Now, I didn't go to Juilliard, but Erin and I line up and we can talk about, acting in the process because I've done different workshops and because I've been doing it for so long, and we all are speaking the same language. So there's a benefit to it. If you want to kind of measure what you know, it's good to get something to help you know what you know naturally. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
So classes are really good for that. Also, through class, a lot of times people get an agent through class because you go to a class, you'll be in class with another actor or the teacher themselves, and they're like, yo, you know what? She's really good. Let me call my agent and tell my agent about Janelle. It's like it's like there's a lot of nepotism in this business. There's a lot of like, this person and that person, and all these things come in handy. So putting yourself in the class is not a bad thing.
It's not, but when agencies ask you to pay to take a class for you to join their agency. See, I've had that happen to me like all last year. Like I had 2 agencies they wanted to offer me up a contract, but they was like, you gotta take a class first, basically, to sign with you. And I'm like, hold on, aren't you supposed to take that on your own?
Yes, but it definitely is a situation. But my agent, you sound just like me, man. Woo, man, we are the same. My agent said this to me. Because like I said, I was like, well, I don't need to take a class. Why do I need to take a class for? He said, it helps the agent feel more confident that when you go into a room, you know what you're doing. Because again, anybody can see that you have natural talent or natural charisma, but not anybody who can just guess that you know what's happening from a technical standing. Do you know what I mean? Like you go into a class and you're going to learn those things that might happen in an audition, that might happen on set. That's not something, even with your natural ability, that you can know before you get there. You just can't know that. And so an agent is always going to feel more confident about putting you out for stuff if they know you're training. That's why they're saying it to you. It's not to just get get a money grab. If the agency is reputable, and there's ways of finding out if the agency is reputable, you can always find out who they represent. If you want to see if they're a good agency, check out who they represent. And if those people are working, then it's a reputable situation. If they're not working, if everyone they represent, is not doing anything, then you can bypass them. But every agent will always feel more secure knowing that their actors are training. Because when they send you out for something, they know when you go into the room, you're going to do your thing. They know it, right? It's not like I can see it in you immediately, and I know that you can do this thing. But an agent, they're not the same kind of animal. They're very much, it's a reputation thing. So they're putting their reputation on the line by saying, I'm sending you someone that can do this part. And if you can't do the part, then that erodes their ability to send people to that casting director. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they want their people to train. That's what they want. But like I said, check out who they represent and check out if those people are working. And if you
I check out the bookings too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can check out everything.
Yeah.
Look, I need to know if you're able to give me what I want too, because you choose me, but I also choose you.
Exactly.
That's right.
You really do sound like me. Wow. That's exactly.
I feel like we have some similarities because, like you said, you grew up singing. I sing, I dance, I act.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying to do everything on my own right now, and with God helping me. So I get it.
Yeah,
and I have a technique that I use for acting. I watch like my favorite shows, and I watch how they interact with each other, and how fast or how slow they speak their lines and stuff like that. To really grasp the concept of acting. Yes.
You know what? I'll tell you. I'll tell you a little story about acting. I did an acting class. This is the last acting class I ever did. This was back in 2004, and it was. I did it for like 6 months, and in that time, there was a play that I ended up doing a scene from, and it was from a movie called play called The Great White Hope, and it was about Jack Johnson, the first African American heavyweight boxing champion of the world back in 1910, and it was about him and everything that happened to him. And one of the scenes the scene that I had was, so Jack's gone from popularity to now he's in a bad position because the authorities wanted to arrest him, and instead of going to jail, he fled. And now this is back in 1910. This is the truth. His girlfriend was Caucasian, and of course that was frowned upon. And everywhere they went, the people wouldn't let them stay or something. So they actually ended up in Mexico, and they're both starving, right? And the whole scene is Jack wants her to leave him so she doesn't die. That's what he wants, because if she stays with him, she's going to die. And he knows that she can walk right back into society, no problem, because she's Caucasian. He knows that. But if she stays with him, he's going to die. So here's the scene. We start doing the scene. And almost like what I said earlier when I was talking about when I watched the scene with my daughter, I had to remind myself that men in 1920 didn't cry. So here I am not crying, right? When I'm watching the scene in When Calls. Now, when I do the scene in acting class, I'm not going to cry because I'm the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, and I want this woman to leave. I need her to leave. If she doesn't leave, she's going to die. So I'm not going to cry. If I cry, she's going to stay. So I'm doing my best to be what I think the character's supposed to be. So I'm being very, I'm angry and I'm stoic and I'm not crying, not emotional. I'm angry more than anything. And the acting teacher I had, he's like, hang on. And he stops the whole scene. He's like, I want you to tell me about something that upsets you where it pertains to race. And I was like, I didn't want to get into it because I didn't want to get emotional. I was like, I got a lot of that, man. I don't need to get into that. And he's like, no, I want you to tell us all right now. Tell us. So I started saying, there were kids that bullied my older brother. And it drove me crazy because while I have a brother who's 6 years older than me, and he protected me there was no one to protect him. And it was like, it's a huge kind of emotional thing for me that I couldn't be there to protect my brother the way he protected me if anyone ever messed with me. And we're different. I was very much a kid. If you messed with me, I would, that's me. That was my answer for everything. If anyone messed with me, they got hurt. My brother is not that person. And so he got bullied. I did not. I hit back. So it's a huge trigger for me. So here he is. We're talking about this now. And I started to get emotional. And I'm trying to fight it. I'm trying to beat it back down. No. And he's like, yes. Bring it out. Let it go. And I'm like, no, I don't want to let it go. He's like, let it go. And finally, I'm crying. And he's like, do the scene. Go. And we do the scene. And I'm crying. And I punch the wall. And I'm so mad because I'm mad in real life. And I'm mad as the character. And I'm connecting with my scene partner. And we finish the scene, and I'm crying, she's crying, the teacher's crying, the class is crying, everybody is crying. And I was mad because I was like, that's not the way it was supposed to go. That's not the authentic scene. And he's like, it doesn't matter about that. That wasn't what this was about. This was about you understanding what makes you tick. It's about you understanding what's a trigger for you. What makes you who you are? And that's the thing. Acting class is not just about someone showing you how to do something technically. It's about you finding out more about yourself. So they're invaluable if you get the right class. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the guy, I'm telling you right now, I'm the guy that's like, you don't need class. I was that guy. But if you get the right situation, now to this day, I still will say that's the wrong way to do that scene. but
I mean, no, because you connected with it, so and that was raw emotion.
Yes,
and that's probably better than the way that they wrote it. So,
oh hell, it was way better than the way they wrote it. You know, because it was real. But it didn't. It would never fly as the guy in 1910. There's no way you're gonna believe that guy. Like I said, because intellectually I knew this was wrong, but emotionally I needed to discover something about myself that I didn't know. I didn't know that my trigger was my brother. I didn't know that was something that made me get emotional. I didn't know. It was in me, but it had never come out. And so class is really good for that. If somebody creates a safe place for another artist to come in and express themselves, that's a very valuable thing for you to be a part of because, like I said, you get to learn a lot about yourself. And that's all this is, right? Beyond the glitz and the glam and mirrors and the makeup and cameras, this is about you learning about who you are and then using that to connect with other people who are trying to learn who they are. And that seems a lot like what we're doing here in the first place. So, you know, that's all we do. We just get paid to do it. That's
right.
Wow. That's well. I'm so glad. But Janelle, thank you. That ended up being like quite a question. I mean, we got to have like a whole little class almost here. So thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Viv.
I forgot to mention, I love When Calls the Heart and Halie Dean Mysteries and all of your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, if you need any assistance with figuring out a class to go to or anything, honestly, Ruth, you can hit up Ruth, and Ruth will hit me up, and we will connect, and I will help you figure out which way to go or how to do this, or how to navigate all this. Because, yeah, you know what? If your instincts are telling you not to go with somebody because they're asking for money, yeah, you know what? Good. Then use your instincts, and you know, and yeah, because there are people out there who are trying to, you know, take people. So,
yeah, most definitely.
I had to pray about it.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
right.
just didn't click with me. If God didn't say yes, then I'm not moving with it.
That's right. There you go. That's right.
Good.
That's good. Yeah. Well,
thank you.
And thank you, Janelle. It's awesome. And thank you. Thank you so much, Viv. I was not expecting all that. It's like, wow, that was actually a great way to begin, because I want to, thank you for staying as long as you did, because you've really given it your time. You totally have. So, thank you. We are so appreciative of this time. And it's meant, I know that, we're excited about When Calls the Heart. Just really quickly, is there anything else coming up that you can mention? Because I want to make sure that I don't forget that.
What's coming up? Forgetting something. No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing
Okay.
right now.
Okay. Well, we will keep watching. We'll definitely keep watching When Calls the Heart. And you do watch When Calls the Heart with your family, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And doesn't Natasha come over lots of times and watch with you guys?
Yeah. Natasha comes over. Amanda comes over. Plays Mesa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
We tweet along together and hang out. We always have food and drinks.
Yeah.
Good drinks, juice.
There's drinks, juice. Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, juice.
Right.
I actually don't drink alcohol. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I remember. I actually remember that about you. Yeah. Because we had some really cool drink that was not alcoholic that you introduced. I don't remember what it was that we drank, but it was so awesome and it was amazing. So I was like, it's like Viv's having it. Well, sure, I'll have it. And it was great. So, all right. Well, as we wrap things up, if you guys want to unmute and thank Viv for his time, please do. Now is your time if you want to express your appreciation to him.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And
So good to see you.
well, it's great seeing you. Thank you, Viv, for your time. You gave so sacrificially today. So thank you so much.
I'm always here. Thank you for having me on your show. I love this.
My pleasure. And thank you all for being awesome audience. And of course, just an amazing. I mean, I just love this conversation. So thank you. And
All right, we'll do it again.
definitely. All right. You guys have a great evening, and we'll see y'all later. All right. Bye. Well, in spite of any technological issues, this particular episode was chock full of exactly why I adore Viv so much. This man gives and gives and gives. He loves what he was doing as he was interacting with everybody. He was blown away by all of the beautiful things that people said, the questions that were asked. This is why Viv is where he is right now. Whether we see him in When Calls the Heart, whether we can look back and enjoy him in those wonderful Halie Dean Mysteries, whether we can look forward to the day when he finally gets that big leading role in a romantic comedy with Hallmark or something like that. Who knows what that future holds? But what I love about him is, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the richest men I've ever known. This man puts his family first. He loves what he does. Thankfully, he can make a living doing it. And I just want everything that is in his heart, in his mind, in his soul. I want him to be able to express that for decades and decades to come. Yeah, Viv, you can't leave this planet anytime soon. Just thought you'd like to know that. We need you, we want you, and thank you so much for being such an integral part of my life. I can't tell you what it means. Yeah, watch the part that my mom had to say. That's all true. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. All of you, whether you are listening on Apple Podcasts, maybe you would be willing to follow me and leave a review. I know some of you have left some beautiful reviews. Whether you'd follow me on YouTube, give me a thumbs up on this video. Don't hold the technology against me. I am getting better. It's going to get better. But thank you for being here, for being so supportive, for being a kind, supportive group. That's what I constantly hear, is how kind all you all are. My guests constantly tell me that. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being who you are. And I look forward to seeing you on a future episode of Media from the Heart. Please join the Facebook group, and if you can ever join,
hop on Zoom. See y'all later. God bless.